Okay, 6 o'clock. And I said we would start then. Let's try this right here. Very good. Well, glad to see you all here. Of course, this is an optional joining live. This is going to be a distance learning, video-based, discussion board-based, email and Zoom interaction sort of semester. I think we're getting used to that now. But welcome everybody. This is the spring 2022 there. Right, yeah, geez. Yes, so I am Tom Ferris. Welcome everybody. So here we go. All right, this is me. I've been at Texas A&M since 2011, so I'm more than a decade in on this now. I'm an associate professor. The topic that I'll be teaching is 630 is basically following from my expertise in human factors and human systems interaction. And so you'll see my research, and you'll hear about me talk about this throughout. It's like the only stuff I know. So, but I'm interested in designing to support humans in the cognitive sense. So you'll hear me talk about human attention and performance and decision making. That's kind of one subset of fitting a human in a system, right? So I'm on the cognitive human factors side in my research. I'm also very interested in information processing. How do humans process information in the environment, or the data in the environment, which gets into usable knowledge that humans can use. Human and automation interaction is increasingly part of our complex systems world, with increasing sophistication of automation. And then I'm interested in humans that start to get into cognitively interesting sorts of contexts. So stress, time pressure, high workload. You'll hear me talk about that when we get into topic 8. Just for those of you who maybe have taken other classes in ISEN or looking ahead, if you talk about human attention and multitasking performance, this is probably most centrally covered in ISEN 635, human information processing. I will be teaching that, I believe, next fall also. So if you like these topics, I guess you'll know by the end of the semester if you want to take any more with me. And then also ISEN 631. I know some of you who are enrolled in this class have taken 631, cognitive systems engineering. That's going to be a little more of the human automation interaction sorts of topics. This is a very different course from 631. So if you took 631, because that one's offered frequently, that's much more of an upper level PhD course. It's much more reading and theory and discussion based. This course is meant to be an overall sort of general course on human factors and ergonomics. So I'll get into more detail on that here. All right, well, we're in an industrial and systems engineering department, and I hope some of you have, taken some time to think about what that means. Although I'll tell you, if you go and ask a systems engineer, what is it you do? Or actually, you could ask 100 system engineers what they do, and they'll give you, 100 different explanations. There are some very key components, though, that I want to point out in appreciating what a system is, because we're going to talk about human systems. We're going to talk about a human in a system, right? And what does the human mean for that? From a systems engineering perspective. So what is a system? It's essentially, by the way, here's something that I will do from time to time. There's your, I hope that came through. Sometimes it doesn't, but that's the, hey, I may push that or when I start to say, oh, maybe you'd want to know about this for the midterm or the final, right? So I'll drop little hints like that. One of the things I like to do with all my sound toys here. So, all right, so what is the system? And you just got the secret surprise ring. So this is any collection of multiple entities that work together towards some holistic outcome. We are in a university, an educational and research system. Texas A&M universities, that's why they call it TAMU-S, right? The Texas A&M University system includes multiple different academic institutions, includes research venues like Texas A&M Transportation Institute, TTI, the vet school, things like TEACS, which has a lot to do with training, like firefighters and police officers and disaster response. All of these are part of the Texas A&M system. All of you in that system as well have means of interacting with these different entities. Okay. Could be an educational system, could be a technological system. We have, mechanical elements, heating elements, chemical elements here in an HVAC system, thermodynamic laws that are part of how this works. We have, of course, technical internet-enabled systems that can communicate over that structure. Biological systems, so we say, our circulatory system, and this is a bunch of entities, even, little red blood cells interacting with other, mechanical components and physiological aspects that ultimately perform the holistic task of keeping our organs oxygenated. We'll actually talk about that in the second half of the semester. We'll talk about human physiology and how things like oxygen and energy turn into work. So, and how do we do that without hurting ourselves? Systems of humans in a work setting, right? And this is where we're going to be increasingly talking, right? In terms of where our systems are going. And those humans make up, an interesting component to a system. They don't act like a machine. They have their own limitations and also their own unique benefits to a system. Systems of people, in our legal system in the United States, and even a sports team. A sports team is a system of humans that need to interact, that need to coordinate, and then the outcome is how well the team as a whole will do. All right, so integrated set of elements. They're working together. They accomplish a defined objective. Okay, this is I forget something systems engineering in COSI. I'm sure somebody on here knows in COSI, but this is the international authority on systems engineering. So they've defined it. All right, what is systems engineering? Okay, so it's a very interdisciplinary field. You may, some of you may be thinking this is the least engineering looking class that I've ever taken. Maybe after we get into it a little bit, it's going to start to look like, why are we talking about human anatomy? Didn't I get through with that in high school or something? Nope, we're getting back to it, and it's for relevant reasons. So it's very interdisciplinary. You'll see as I do the topic one. This is topic 0, by the way, what we're doing today, and topic 1 is also this current week. So if you were looking at the syllabus, that's to be recorded yet. Okay, so again, there are 2 major things to think about systems engineering. One is there is a holistic sort of approach to it. I'm less interested in how, this one particular player does their roles as I am how does the whole team score turn out, right? So I'm interested at the highest level for how the system performs, and the performance of that system depends very much so, but almost sometimes surprisingly so, on these interactions among components. Okay, so how well one player gets the ball to another player, how well one player outsmarts the defense in a sports game. So those are all interactions, 2 things that are somehow linked in the performance of the system. The whole is bigger than the sum of the parts. The team score is more than just the combined input of each individual team member. There's an aspect of the interactions among the players that isn't captured if you only look at it at the sum of all the individuals. So we got to understand and appreciate those interactions. And then human technology interaction, human to human interaction, becomes a topic of this course. How do humans interact in these systems? So here we go. So we talked about examples of systems. What makes this course unique is we talk about the benefits, the limitations, the unique factors of what it means to be a human and to perform work in these systems, right? So you'll hear a couple of like key phrases here in the first couple of topics. You'll hear me talk about human-centered design. Okay, so there's kind of two things to think about, two buzzwords on this slide. One is we've got a system, it all interacts, right? But we're going to be human-centered in how we address problems, how we analyze problems, and how we design to avoid those problems or minimize those problems or improve overall performance by looking at the human. So part of this, you know, I like to make the point, the human is the most difficult component in a system to redesign. Okay, so we can always make a smarter technology or a smarter way to do a task, or something about the environment around the task could be changed. The most difficult thing to change is the human themselves. So what we do is we put the human in the center and we say, we're going to just build around this human that is difficult to change. We're not going to make the human change. We're going to enable the strengths of that human and we're going to design around them. So they're human-centered. Right, there we go. Okay, so human-centered design, human operators in complex systems. Now, what's the big thing? Oh, I didn't, hang on, let me grab the book. So the other buzzword I've said is human factors engineering, right? So here's the textbook for the class, Design for People, an Intro to Human Factors Engineering. So I'm not going to make you distinguish. You're not going to get a test question that says, what's the difference between a human systems analysis and a human factors analysis? It's all going to be kind of synonymous here. Basically, the more common term you'll hear is human factors engineering. I like to make sure we're emphasizing the system aspect of that, especially because this is a graduate class and because we're systems engineers. All right. So in general, this class splits really nicely at the midway point at about the midterm. So the first half of the course, we're going to be talking about cognitive human factors issues. This is, again, more of my research space. So things like decision making and attention and reading and seeing things and hearing things. We're going to talk about vision and audition and safety related to those things as well. And then the second half, we're going to talk about physical factors. How do humans perform work? How do humans not hurt themselves when they're performing work? The shapes and sizes of humans, how do you accommodate those in work systems? All right, good. Now, you know, I could play these. I'll tell you what, this one didn't show up so well. If you want a little bit more background, what's going on with this topic, with this field, I'll leave this as a, hey, you know, you can do this after today's recording here. But if you're watching this on a recording, good. Here, let me do it this way. I guess it won't matter. You can copy that, I hope. And to check out these short videos that are kind of going to give you an overview for what these are. This one here is going to have a little bit of chuckles to it too. So that one's, I always like to use that one too. But I got to save my own jokes here, so you can check those out on your own. Okay, good. So I already held up the textbook. There's a strong recommend on this. So I've gone from saying, it's kind of optional because only what I say in lecture is relevant. That's still the case, but especially in this course because it's going to be video based. I'm basically going to say, hey, it's Monday night or it's Tuesday morning. Here is your videos for the week and your assignment, and it's due in a week. And that's what you're going to hear from me every week for the most part. So if you want that extra background on these topics, this is a really great book. It's not very expensive, especially because it's paperback. I don't know. Well, let's see what it costs right now. Actually, let's check it out. Let's see. All right, go here. Let's just see. All right, 40 bucks, you know, so not nothing, but generally a lot more affordable, I think, than some of the books you may have to buy. So pretty good. Oop, don't go there. Amazon. All right. Okay, I hope I put my slide back correctly and you can still see the, all right, I hope so. Tell me if it's not. Now, at this point, I would say probably the older second edition. This is actually the book that I got as an undergraduate student in my first human factors class. And the author, John D. Lee, was the professor who taught that class. You'll notice John D. Lee is the lead author, and he's also a name that's going to come out if you're in this field. It's we're back. Okay, we're back recording. Cloud. Okay, good. So we're back. Thanks. All right. So yeah, this is why you there's going to be these little bumps in the road. We'll adapt and overcome like human systems. Okay. So anyway, this if you're looking for the older version, it's going to be probably more expensive at this point, only because it's rarer. So I recommend the book. It's really well written. Dr. Lee is the advisor of Dr. McDonald, Tony McDonald, who's in our ISEN faculty currently, so there's some good lineage of those who are writing these very popular textbooks, in our own faculty here. Okay, so the textbook is going to be strongly recommended, and Canvas. Everything else will be Canvas. I'm going to do as much as we can Canvas, right? So you don't have to go to too many different places. And I'm trying to make them, I've taught in Canvas before, but it was a year ago because I'm actually on sabbatical right now. So I didn't teach in the fall. I wasn't going to teach the spring. Well, we got to get this class up there, and for a number of reasons, I'm happy to do it. But let me just tell you how I'm struggling through this. So, all right. Do you all see my screen that says that's the Canvas site? I hope.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you. All right, good. So a couple of, basically I'm going to post pretty much everything on the modules link. So you click there, you're going to see right off the bat, we've got the syllabus here. We've got the Proctor form I'm going to talk about here shortly. These are the lecture slides that I am giving right now. And so you should be able to download them, do with them what you would like. Sometimes what I present live may not be exactly the same as what's in the slides, because maybe sometimes I want to do a little like unveil, a little of that. So I would highly recommend, as you have the slides, maybe make those for more note taking, and make sure you do watch the lecture videos, which of course haven't been posted yet. But are being recorded. You should also be able to find, so I'm going to try to organize these things by topic. So topic 0, and kind of the intro stuff here, the lecture slides, the video, and then the assignments or the assessments that go with this. So this will be homework or quizzes that go specifically with those topics. So I'll talk about each of these here shortly. But that's your module link. Whenever we have new things posted, I will make an announcement. So I announced, hey, I'm figuring this out. And that'll be there. So when I do this, I think what it does is it emails everybody in the class, but then it keeps a history of those announcements here. And then if you go to the home page, there will be, yep, right there, announcements right up at the top. Grades, I'm going to keep grades offline. So I have a grader to work with on this. I don't generally like to keep the grades only online, because I like to do my own math behind the scenes, and I don't trust them the way that these things will weight everything. But this might be a good place to see, hey, what score did I get, right? I don't plan to use this Zoom thing, but I'm still looking. So, oh yeah, maybe this will be what it is, cloud recording, and I'll just post it there. I'll figure it out. Discussions. Okay, so here's where I want to think about questions throughout this the week. So I'll post the video, and then I'll say, hey, here's the discussion board where you can post any questions you have, anything that's not clear. And please consider you're doing me a favor, you're doing your classmates a favor by asking questions when you don't, when something isn't clear. And I will make those discussion posts public as much as you're comfortable with that. So if you want to have a private message, probably don't put it as a discussion board. You can send me an email, and I'll be I'll be responsive to email as best I can. All right, and then last one here is your assignments. So what do I have due and when? This should be a a current up-to-date sequence here. All right, any questions on the Canvas site?
Yeah, I have a question, Dr. Ferris. This is Monica.
Sure.
So
Hi, Monica.
How are you doing?
Good.
So whenever you have the assignments, you have normally a link, right? Because I took a class last semester and they had that link to upload the assignment. Is that normally how you're going to work this out?
I hope so. The first assignment is due in a week. Well, there's 2 of them. And so we'll have to figure it out a little bit. And if it's goofy, I'll change it. But yes, right now, the point is to go to, I made the Proctor form and assignment also. And why does it say next? Okay, what?
See, because I didn't see that tab that asks to upload the information or the document before.
Yeah, I'll have to figure that out. Huh. Well, it does work if I go here, I think.
But I was also getting a message that said that because the class doesn't start officially until tomorrow, I couldn't interact with the system.
Oh, you can't see this yet. Oh.
Yeah, that's what it said.
Oh, shoot. Okay.
So it's a bad human factors engineering Canvas.
Yeah, sure is. That's well, I'm sorry, folks. Like I said, I'm figuring it out as we go. I may be able to find a setting that makes it live right now. I was remembering. Okay, and then you go to, oh, this is student view. Okay, I'm gonna have to just figure it out after class. I'm sorry that I don't have it working quite yet, or otherwise it'll come on tomorrow, I suppose. But in any case, I will make sure to announce, hey, here's all the stuff, and then if anybody has any problems, I'll fix it. But hopefully, starting tomorrow, you'll be able to click here, and you'll be able to then do. You'll be able to do the start the assignment and upload your file when it's done. And here's the instructions and everything. So hopefully this works. There we go. Okay, good. So with that, with me fixing that, are there other questions about what should be on here?
I have a question.
Yes.
Dr. Ferris, do you have any naming conventions for how you would like the discussions to be named? Like at work, we have something similar. So what we like to do is who it's addressed to, what date, what slide, what it concerns. So there's like a certain thing that everybody follows that makes it easy to always reference them back without having to read them.
That's an excellent suggestion. I will suggest that, and what I'll do is I'll post a discussion point that includes the instructions for that and what we'd recommend. So it'd probably be something like which topic, which slide number,
right? What date or whatever.
Yeah, date. Yeah. Yep, that's a great idea. That'd help a lot, I'm sure.
Yeah,
that's great. Cool. Thank you. Okay,
yes,
I'm gonna just make a note of that. Let me just. There isn't an easy way for me to make a note. Okay. Got it. Okay, good. Any other questions on this while we're stopped for a moment?
So how are the exams? We write the exams here using Canvas?
That's correct. The exams will be, they'll be timed exams, but you will have better part of a week to find the right time to do it. So the Canvas will host the exams. I've never done it through Canvas before, so I'll have to figure that out too. But there will also be a written and submitted part of that. But so they'll be like timed. You'll see the questions and then they'll be done, and you'll submit your work with it.
So it's like you'll have a 24-hour window, and we write and we scan it and upload it on Canvas with a proctor.
That's correct. But I'll give more than one day. Because this is a distant, so this course is I know some of you are current local students, but this course is also designed for distance learning to be done, like as flexibly as possible. So it's a different format in that way. And so I will generally say you're going to have wider windows. Like it'll be clear you have to have it in by this, but I'm not going to say you only have one day. You'll probably have like 5 or 6 days that you can, find the best time within there.
And the exams have to be taken within a particular time, an hour. I mean,
yes, there will be timed, generally 75 minutes, as if we were in a, if we were in a class period.
Cool.
Yep. Thanks
Dr.
for the questions.
Sorry, Dr. F. On those exams, are they mostly essay-based questions?
No, mostly short answer, short calculation, and there will be generally 3 or 4 longer problems that are basically expanded versions or similar to the style you'll do in the homeworks.
Okay, thank you.
I don't like to grade essay questions, so there won't be many of those. There will be, you need to justify why you're going to use this or that, assumption or equation, but nothing too verbose.
Dr. F, I have a question about the office hours.
Yep.
So is it only Thursday or Thursday and Friday? I think I saw that you posted also Fridays.
That's right. Let me see if I've got that slide here. Office hours. So in general, I mentioned I'm on sabbatical, so I'm actually working with the U.S. Army this semester, and so I've got some travel that I'll need to do. And so the way that I can best handle that is to say Mondays are the days that I'm doing the preparing materials for the week and posting them. I've got meetings all day Tuesday, and then I've stacked up my next in-town meetings for Wednesday. So I'd ideally like to do Thursday, but again, I'm going to be as flexible as needed for the schedules that are out there. So ideally, I'd like to be able to say, hey, let's talk on Thursday, and the window of time might be different every week, depending on who needs to be there. And if nobody requests, hey, I don't have any questions, I probably won't just be there. So I don't know. I haven't quite thought that through. Probably what I'll do is something like I'm always there 3 to 4 or something like that, whatever the schedule is. But then I'll also by arrangement, I'll meet whenever we need to. So if you can send me when you request 2 to 3 different times that might work, and then I will respond and we'll set that up, and probably do your best to let me know 24 hours in advance if you can, in case I'm not attentive to my email at that time.
Okay, thank you.
Does that help? Yep. Thank you. Okay, here. So why don't I, because I jumped ahead a little bit, why don't I just catch up a little bit, and then there'll be plenty more time for questions. Thank you, everybody. I think that helps a lot to get those questions. All right, so all that stuff, yep, gradebook kept offline. Great. So let me just point out again the syllabus. So I emailed it, but you also can get the latest syllabus from the Canvas site. So the way this works, it's kind of, I do like this part. I can go and just update a file in my own repository, and it automatically just has it linked to this site. So whenever you go, how do I go to modules now? The student version. That's weird. I don't know how to do it from a student. Sorry. Modules and syllabus. So this will always be updated. All right. So just wanted to point out, and please do read through this when you've got time. I'm just kind of hitting on the high points here. So the grades will be, there's our determination, 30% from the homeworks and quizzes. There will be roughly 1 of those for every topic. So we've got topic 0 and topic 1. So you've got 2 assignments due in a week. Then the exams, that's the meat of the course, 25% for midterm and for the final. There's just 2 of them. And we also have a research report that I will get into more detail on in a couple of weeks, but it's the semester-long 5-page written report. There's that, and you're going to get to choose that topic. Okay, so in general, what I'll do is I'll give a few examples of what students have done in the past, so you have something, you know, to compare it to, and it should be something that is your own interest. We'll make it fit, you know, the human systems aspects of this course, but this is designed to be, you know, not, you know, this is designed to be an exploration of your own interests within the topics of this course. Okay, anything else I'm missing here? Oh, homeworks and quizzes. You'll notice in Canvas, we've got points that go with each of the assignments. And basically what I'm going to do is I don't have like, okay, you got an 100% on this one and 100% on this one and 100% on this one, and do the average that way. We're basically just doing a sum total of points. So homework 0 is worth 5, you know, and then 1 point for filling in your proctor, 15 for this. So you'll see basically there are, you know, roughly 150 to 200 total points in that column, and I'm just doing a running total sum. So that's how those get calculated in the end. It's not, I'm not doing, you know, anyway, I hope that's clear enough. Yeah. Okay. A couple things on the syllabus to point out. I generally don't take late submissions. I know that's a hard stance to take, but I will give you a week for everything we put. If you have a university excused reason to, you know, have a late submission, I will always say, yeah, well, that's, the university says it's excused, so it's excused. You can see more detail in the, you know, in the syllabus, but basically, you know, if you're sick or something, I know that can happen, but, you know, if you wait until the last day and then get sick, I'm going to at least need to see, oh, a documentation for all of these things. And that's for longevity too. I always do that all my classes. If there's any deviation from this, you know, I have a documentation for it. So no late submissions. There is a regrading policy. So again, I have a grader I'll be working with this semester. That will be some disconnect between what I say in these videos and what, you know, what ends up on the assignments, I know. So we have a system that is potentially error prone, involving humans. And so the humans can then be the ones to improvise and to, you know, to account for any breakdowns there. So I have a regrading policy. Basically, after we post the scores and you get the you know, assignments, and then we'll also post like, here's the solution. After that, then you have basically 1 week to challenge any of the grading. Realize that we don't want this to be a trivial thing, so you need to do it in writing, and you get one piece of paper to put all of your grievances in writing, and then we will regrade with that as an aid. And it might be things like, oh, I made this assumption for this reason. Remember, Dr. F, you said, and then I'll be like, oh yeah, I didn't think of that. And okay, great. You get, you know, you get credit for that. But also realize that, you know, there's potential for the grade to go down also. So it's not something to be used, you know, frivolously. We take the academic conduct very seriously. I'm sure you've heard this from other classes and my colleagues. We have a strict, it's laid out in the syllabus there at the, here, let me just point to it. Not that I like to highlight this part of the syllabus, but it's important to make sure we got it. Okay. Okay, so here we go. You know, the Aggie Honor Code, and this will be part of what you sign when you submit any timed exam, quizzes or exams. Basically, is when we'll have this. Actually, let me make this pretty clear. All right. So when there is written homework, and I'll always post this at the top too, so that it's clear, this is something I would encourage you to work with others on. In my experience, doing homework together makes both parties better prepared for it. You know, obviously, you're not copying your friend, you are working through them and talking and strategizing together. perfectly acceptable for the written homeworks. For quizzes, timed quizzes, and exams, absolutely no collaboration with other people. You're on your own. Okay. But I'll try to make that clear for the homeworks. I would encourage you to work together if it, to the extent that everybody is learning how to do these things. You're going to need to do it on your own in the exams, of course. So good to work through them and make sure you know what you're doing for the homeworks. All right. That stated, if we have any stretching of those very strict rules about, when you can collaborate, when you cannot, which is, I'll be explicit when you can. So assume you cannot. I'll be explicit about the homeworks and say, yeah, you can work on this with others. But there is an F* and, submitted to the Honor Council for any violations of that. That's what we do in our department. It's very harsh first sentence, so let's not do that. Also know that because this is a video-based class and because I am flexible by nature of the class, I realize there are means to work with other people who have taken the class in the past, things like that. Know that I always update things, and especially because I'm doing this in Canvas for the first time, I have to rewrite all the exams. And so there's going to be some trickiness to that. And I'm pretty good at having, little subtle ways to catch, people who maybe are copying off of someone else. So don't do that. That's my main thing there. And I hope that I don't have to talk any more about that. We do have midterm exam and final exam around these dates. I kind of want to be a little flexible because this is spring break, and I don't want you to be like, oh, I have to do it like while I'm in Cancun, or hopefully we're able to travel to wherever in spring break again. But in general, I want to put it up so conceivably you could take it like the Friday before spring break, and then you've got a week to not worry about it. So I'll try to do something like that. These exams will require a proctor. So I already started talking about that. We actually have a quiz that is planned for next week. So I actually want you to get right on the proctor thing right away, in the next 2 weeks, please. If you have any special concerns, please reach out to me, and I'll do whatever I can to to make it an enjoyable class for you. And then finally, the schedule there, you can see it in the syllabus. This is a tentative schedule, so but I think we can probably stick pretty closely to it. So you can see this is week 1. You're getting 0 and topic 1 this week. Next week is vision. Okay. There we go. Yeah, that's it. Just want to show you, we do the F stars. It's brutal. Don't want to do that. Okay, I think I talked through the proctors. Does anybody have any more questions? Oh, let me do the proctor thing. All right. So who can it be? Essentially, the proctor can be anybody whose professional or personal reputation has some clout to it, so that they will sign and say, yes, I was there while this person legally took the exam according to all the instructions, and they're going to sign for you. So this should not be a friend or a roommate or a spouse, but it could be a supervisor. It could be anybody who is employed by the university in some kind of capacity, or a different university. If you're not in Bryan College Station and there's a local community college or something where you have people who would do this for you. And the end of the line here is a public librarian. They will generally, yeah, sure, if you take it and I'll sign for you. If you're having trouble finding the right person, if you're really struggling, just let me know. I'll help you out. We'll figure it out. I'll ask one of my PhD students or something, to proctor for you. So please do this ASAP, because yes, starting next week, we're going to have a quiz that I want to be able to have proctors there for it. Any questions on this?
So on the proctor side, if we are unable to find a proctor, like a supervisor, librarian, or this, as you say, you can help us with a PhD student. Can we be proctored over Zoom virtually, being a distance education student?
I don't know how to do that. So I'll say no for now, unless I can figure out a reasonable, if you can show me how to do it, and it's at a time when I can be there, or another person can be there to cover for you, then we can do it that way.
Yeah,
I just don't know how.
Yeah, one of those courses I took on ISEN had this lockdown browser where we take it through this Tamu browser, and this browser wouldn't let us do anything else except focus only on the set of questions, and it is going to record our video session completely. So this browser does that. So if there is any discrepancy, it's automatically with its algorithm, it sends out a message to the to your grader or anyone you have assigned.
I'll look into it.
Sure.
So thanks for the suggestion, Zoom. But I would say I won't. So for my exams, I'll always make it open everything, so you can go back to the video, the lecture videos, or to the slides, or really anywhere online. Sometimes I'll ask questions that say you want to look for something online, that's fine. But just realize, it's got to be a valid source, and it's got to be you're uniquely using it. You're not, going to like Twitter and then asking your friend what the question is or whatever. So, so in general, I won't do a lockdown thing, and I want to give it, I want it to be as flexible as possible for you all, and rely on the on that Aggie honor statement that you'll sign.
Sure, but getting one of these people and getting 1 hour time where they are having their eyes on us could be a little complex to source and we look at, right?
That's true. That's true. So if you, I can only say I'll look into it, but I don't know how to do it for sure yet. So let's just say this is the operating instruction for now. Let me know if next week it is impossible to find the right person, and we'll work something out for that quiz, and then we'll figure it out as we go.
So Dr. Ferris, I hope everybody wants to ask a question real quick. So just getting it clear, we can use reference material. So it's open notes, open book, right? So that's what I'm getting from your comments right now. Okay,
that's correct.
Just to be clear about that. Number 2, the proctor also has to be available for the quizzes. So it's for the quizzes and the exams, right?
That's right. And the essence of what is needed is a signature of the time. I have to think about this, because actually, I don't think you need a proctor for the quizzes, for the next quiz at least, because it's mostly about the proctor needs to be there for the scanned work that you did. And so there isn't a whole lot that the proctor needs to do other than to sign off on it, if that makes sense. So they don't have to watch over your shoulder at all. It can just be basically somebody who, yes, signs at 8:35 p.m. I'm signing this, and then you would scan it and send it.
And approximately how long do we have to take a quiz?
It depends on the quiz. So 15 minutes if it's 5 questions or something like that.
Thanks.
Yeah, let me think about that some more.
Yeah, please give yourself more thoughts there, Dr. Ferris, because every time we go to this proctor for a quiz, it's a logistics arrangement.
Okay.
I mean, for the exams, it would be great. Right. For a quiz.
You're right. Okay, then that's what it'll be. It'll only be for the exam. Yes. So please do start looking for proctors for the exams, because I do want to have those lined up, but don't worry about it for next week.
So just FYI, Canvas actually has the capability of timing you, because that's how the previous class was. So it had that 15-minute or 40-minute, whatever was available.
Yes, yes. Yeah. I
figured. Help you figure it out, I guess.
Thank you. Yeah. I did this all in eCampus before. I assume it has the same functionality. I just don't know how to do it yet. I have to figure it out.
Doctor, just for me to clarify about the proctor thing, because this is the first time that I'm doing it. I'm going to do it.
Okay.
So when we take the exam, you want the proctor to be physically present with that.
Yes. So hang on a second. Let's open this thing. Yes, they should be present, or you should be in their presence, so that when you finish and you click submit and you've gotten all your written work that goes with what the answers you just sent, that person can say, yes, this is the time, and sign the form with you on the Aggie honor statement, and then make sure it gets uploaded right about that time. So the idea is that people can't like get a signature and then go home and fix their written work and then upload it later. It's going to be timed with this person.
Okay. Well, actually, I was thinking about who's going to be my proctor, and I have a mentor, but he lives in College Station and I'm living in Houston, so that's not going to work, and I have to.
Okay.
Yeah. I thought this can be done. I thought the proctoring can be done through Zoom, like the previous question.
Guys, I'll look into it. I've never done it before. I don't know if it'll work. I will look into it.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate that.
Yep. Okay. Good.
Another question, Dr. Ferris. So
yes, please.
For the exams, do we have like practice or like a review type of package that you normally have? Well, just wondering, because that's always useful, and helpful.
The homeworks are essentially designed for that. So the questions on the exams will be very similar to what the homeworks are. So that's probably as much as you'll get is the homeworks and feedback from the homeworks. Then if you have questions, we can have, office hour style conversations.
Okay, thanks.
Yep. Sorry, I was looking for, got too many things up here. The proctor thing again. So I think I've got the instructions pretty laid out here. This is the ISEN text, and I haven't been teaching this last semester, so maybe it's different. Maybe everybody does it through Canvas now, and then it'll be really easy for me to figure it out. But yes, the proctor will have the. Actually, I won't do that either. I'm going to put it. I always put the password on the exam. I post it. Let me readdress this proctor thing as soon as I can figure it out. All right. So there's a lot of people who would probably benefit from a cleaner solution, but this is what we've always used. So let me do the best I can with this, but otherwise, yes, please talk to supervisors, anybody locally who could be your sign off on this, and I'll just do what I can. Okay. Okay. Any other lingering proctor questions? Okay. Yep, talked about office hours. Send me an email, tferris@tamu, and I'll work that out. Yeah, just realize I'm probably going to be traveling a lot of first half of the weeks. So when that's happening, it's going to be really unpredictable about when I'll be looking at emails. So Thursday is going to be the best chance for me. Okay. How to make this a great class? Ask questions. The discussion board will be, I hope, a useful tool for that. If there's anything that is uncovered in my meetings, office hours or whatever that I think is relevant for everybody, I'll always make an announcement or I'll make amendments for that. That's generally how I figure out that I didn't describe something very clearly is when people, ask good questions. In general, this is something I say for all of my classes. The way that you learn things is you associate new information with the network of knowledge you already have in your brain. So as often as you can think, hey, I'm a human, and Ferris just said this thing about what humans do. Is that right? Or do I have an example in my own life where that has happened, or where I've tried to do something a certain way and it worked out or it didn't or whatever. I want you to be your own critical sort of, testing all of the things you're learning here and be your own test subject, your own case study. Share anecdotes with me, share them with the class as much as you're interested. There could be some cool, discussions. Especially when we get into topics like human error. And I remember, of course, we all commit errors all the time, and there are some real common modes for how that happens. There are usually some pretty fun, anecdotes to come up with around then. I would appreciate feedback again, because kind of doing this the first time through Canvas, and by all means there's going to be better ways to do things that we'll learn about when we talk to each other. So I do appreciate that feedback, and as always, if you can be a little flexible with me, that helps. I'd like to always recognize Dr. Roger Copa. So Dr. Copa, when I started here at Texas A&M, he had been teaching this class for probably a decade, a really long time, and he's kind of got the history of Texas A&M industrial and systems engineering human factors as far back as it goes by my observation. So Dr. Copa still is a professor with ISEN, and he'll teach classes still. So some of you may have had a course with him. He's a great person. And he was, a human factors engineer with NASA, and the famous, from Apollo 13, the famous, the movie Apollo 13, when they say, Houston, we have a problem. And Dr. Copa was Houston. So he was part of that team. So that's kind of a neat thing. And he taught these courses for many years. He shared a lot of the material that is ultimately, been reused and adapted for this current offering of this course. So Dr. Copa is there, and I always like to say thanks to him. Okay, what's new with me? I mentioned I am doing research with the Army. This is me right here in October 2020. I'm in what they call a Stryker, which is a military vehicle designed, for multi-purpose use. And I'm working on various aspects of the driver and various crew persons. Just point out this YouTube clip. This is a public release for some of the things that we did in this particular extravaganza. So that's a Stryker, and so I was in. This picture and these picture doesn't go together, but that is that vehicle. I wasn't in it while it was moving. But what we're looking at are, remote controlled vehicles here. These are remote controlled. They have safety drivers there, but there are people on board this vehicle driving these vehicles, from like a remote station in there, which makes it really interesting because as this vehicle moves all over the place, there are people trying to have another frame of reference in what's happening with these vehicles to control them. So this is what it looks like a little bit from over the shoulder. So you can see their view there. This is one of my colleagues demonstrating the head-mounted displays. That was one of the major questions we looked at in this research endeavor. And this is me from my car playing Indiana Jones researcher and driving on this military test course with my very dirty car, and you'll see a better picture in a moment, and commenting, giving human factors sorts of data points with my GoPro camera, counting the number of barrels and things that they hit. It was very fun. Yeah, I lived in my car for a week in freezing Grayling, Michigan. This is also during October 2020, so we had COVID going on. So I drove. At the time, there were no flights. There were flights, but the Army said, if you're going to participate, you can't go through an airport. So I had to drive from College Station all the way up to Grayling, Michigan. That's my car. It was awesome. All right, so that was what I did in 2020. Then 2021, we're doing more work that involves testing and simulation, and a big motion-based simulator. So you see similar sorts of vehicle maneuvers and things. In this case, I got to look a lot more closely at the workload that the soldiers were experiencing. So we did this a couple of ways. When we get to topic 8, you'll hear me talk about assessing workload, cognitive load, and how we do that. One of the interesting ways to do it is with physiological signals. So I'm looking at the heart rate and the variability in heart rate. And if you're wondering, well, why does the variability matter? It's actually one of the more interesting and more sophisticated physiological signals for cognitive and physical workload. So this was pretty cool stuff. This is what I've been doing in the last year very heavily. All right. Well, we come to the end of this 0.1. I've got a few things I'll show here in a moment, but I just want to, I'll announce the assignment here. I do this with every class. It's really kind of a special thing for me because I get to know a little bit about each of the students that I am hopefully making a positive impact on. And so I keep all of these and it's really helps me get to know you all, especially if you're just a name in a box during a video or you're an email name. I really like to know who you are as people. And so if you could please do this in the next week, submit a one-page bio. I've actually got instructions and an example on Canvas, so you can see my own recent bio. I want to know who you are, how should I refer to you? So legal name, this is going to match up in the grade book, but maybe you go by something that isn't the long legal name. That way I can address you appropriately. I'd like to see your picture, cropped so it's just you, no sunglasses. What are you doing, your degree program or your professional also context? That would also be interesting to know. If you have any human factors experience, anything in particular you want to get out of the course. And then finally, my favorite point is some fun factor, human fun factor here. What are your hobbies? What are your interests? And this is cool because this is where I get to say, oh, hey, so-and-so likes this. And here's this relevant topic, and I can bring it up, and I can say, hey, this is relevant to, we have a tennis player here, right? So here's how, this works in playing tennis or whatever. So yeah, I like to know a little bit about you. All right. Let me stop there, see if there are any questions. And then I have a very brief set of slides of, some of the topics we're going to hit on. Are there any questions, syllabus wise or otherwise? Okie doke. I guess then episode 2. Okay, so 0.1 we just finished. 0.2, that's this one. So I just like to show you a couple of goofy, I update this every year or so. A couple of course highlights, a couple of things to think about what this course will cover. All right. So our next major topic starting next week, vision. Okay, we're going to talk about things like, field of view. We're also going to talk about acuity. How do we measure, I'm wearing glasses right now, and we're going to talk about the specifics of how these work and why they work and how lenses help us, with our visual system. Things like color vision, background versus foreground vision. This is all going to be relevant to, talking about how humans visually capture information. And then processing that information, right? So signage, documentation, things that are designed to attract direct attention and convey a message. And maybe that needs to be conveyed in a context that is, limited. So like while I'm driving a car or while I'm pushing, a heavy load of groceries and I've got a screaming kid in my cart. And of course, these are silly. Some of these, at least. This is my favorite one, keep right with the arrow to the left. And so these are just examples of, can you imagine that a human might get a little bit in a tricky situation here? Any human, not just, one particular person, but any human in this context, they already got the odds stacked against them to some extent. I don't know if you guys knew this. There is an intersection that is Bryan and Bryan in the city of Bryan. So I got the 3 Montreals here are funny, but there is a Bryan and Bryan in Bryan. All right. So these are displays. Signs are displays. Anything that conveys information to a human to be used towards some task, it's a display. And there are more advanced displays. There are non-visual displays. This is some of my research with vibrotactile presentations. When do we do that? Well, maybe it's when our eyes and ears are needed for other things like driving a car. And I've got these other sensory channels that are available. Wearable displays, and of course you saw with some of my crew optimization stuff, the Army work, we're looking at, head-mounted computer displays. Wearables, these are displays. Augmented reality, like Pokemon Go. I don't know if you think of it that way. This is an augmented reality display where you've got the real environment and you've got synthetic elements overlaid on it. This is increasingly a technology, that everybody could be using, all the time. So interesting sorts of future display talk, I hope, in this course. Written communications, how do people read things? Also, how do you convey verbal instructions, person to person, or, in order to be safe? How do we measure the, let's say, the density of information in written words? So bugs flying around with wings are flying bugs. That took me 8 words to convey 2 words worth of information. So we can talk about efficiency and redundancy as well. Of course, there are some interesting human aspects to how we holistically process verbal language. So this read wrong, you this read wrong, but you probably didn't read it that way. And isn't that amazing that your brain automatically, switches those around? So that's a little secret. So that's interesting. Warnings, this got a little jumbled up here. Come on now, how did that happen? Yeah, don't feed the alligators. So talking about how you design a warning to be effective. This is not just about directing attention and conveying a clear instruction, but it's also about getting people to comply. And so when you go from, did the person notice it? Did they understand it? Are they going to believe it and actually follow that instruction? There's a science behind how you design those things. So a warning design is going to be one of our topics. Hearing and noise, and we'll talk about how, just like with vision, how hearing works, and also hearing safety, right? So, there's a lot of industrial workplaces that need hearing protection. There's a lot of jobs that put our ears in risk if we don't, protect them. And so we'll talk about when they need to be protected and how it works. Second half of the course, now we're going to be going into physical human factors. How do humans perform complex motor tasks, right? And we actually get to do some mathematical modeling of this. So how, the reaction time that is the absolute speed limit of neural transmission is a factor in setting a speed limit for the highway, because I need to know how far ahead can a human see reliably. If they have a, if they have a legal license, a driving license, that means they see at least 20/50 in the state of Texas. What does that mean for how far away an object would be that they'd need to see? And then once they see and recognize that, how long is it going to take for them to slam on the brakes? And each of these are motor skills that we can model and we can study, and they go into design decisions like, what should the speed limit be on this road? Controls. So anything that a human interacts with to provide data to a system, then that, maybe towards some task. Of course, we have manual controls. We now increasingly have non-contact controls, gesture-based controls. So I'm sending a message to that system based on my, physical interaction. Attention, workload, and multitasking. We'll talk about, how the limits of how well people can perform when they try to do too many things at once. Why is this a safety disaster? The reality of multitasking while moving is very prevalent right now. I just reviewed a paper a couple of weeks ago about ways to deal with this problem, that there's too many people zeroing in and then trying to cross a street. And so looking at ways to identify that and then alert people. But paying attention to that, key piece of information and how do you direct attention to it, that's going to be some of these topics as well. Memory. When do we need to remember something? Well, when it's important. And also we need to think about how we process things in real time. So our moment-to-moment consciousness is actually a function of memory, what we call our working memory, at least in the model that I like to talk about. So there are limits of that, and you may have heard the reference before, the magical number 7 plus or minus 2. Magical number 7 plus or minus 2 refers to, when we get to memory, you'll hear more about this, but it refers to the capacity of working memory. And this matters because it's basically what a human can keep in their head in a working moment. So if I am in a burning building and I need to know where's the emergency exit, and I have to read this, now I've got to keep in my head left, right, then left, then right, then left. I've got 5 instructions that I have to keep in my head while I panic and try to follow those instructions and get out of a burning building. So each of these, they fill up a memory slot, and under stress, especially, those memory slots are actually reduced. And so this is where, people have breakdowns in things that they're trying to remember or they're trying to process. You might imagine also trying to process all of these times while you're also trying to hopefully look around to make sure that there are not humans walking, which is the whole point of a school zone, to be careful for the humans walking around. All right. Human error, I told you we'll get to this. There are some different modes of error. There's the oh duh sort of error, and there's the no, I really know what I'm doing and I'm wrong error. And so there, we'll talk about all these different examples here and the factors that contribute to error. Anthropometry, humans are all different shapes and sizes, and they have to physically integrate into systems. So we'll talk about how we measure human body dimensions and how those matter for the design of systems. Workstation design. Actually, right now, I've got the Mad Science Lab in my backyard. It's the best. You'll see a picture of it in my bio. But right now, my Mad Science Lab doesn't look that different from this. It's not that bad, but you can imagine the implications for performing work when you have organization like this. Also, of course, physically, how does the human interface? I like to show these examples of workplaces and maybe how they weren't accounting for all of the human needs when those technologies were introduced. Workplace safety, we'll talk about this kind of throughout because this course is designed to be able to be applied in like an industrial context. You should be able to, for those of you who are working currently in industry, you should be able to apply and to look around kind of your workplace and see how, these safety recommendations are being applied. All right. Workers with varied abilities. So for example, visually impaired or mobility impaired or differently mobiled. And so we'll talk about, ways to accommodate that to these different abilities. Manual material handling. So, in an assembly line, but then also we're talking about, waiters, those of us who go to the store, like if I am handling things, I'm physically moving them, I'm applying work on them, we can study that. And sometimes the material that's being handled is another human. So one of the main areas of research in human factors in the physical human factors world is in healthcare and the need to handle patients, right? So, and patients of all shapes and sizes. And so you can imagine the need to move a patient that is incapacitated or is, so ill that they can't physically, operate themselves. That's a major issue, right? When you have other humans involved. Near the end of the course, we'll talk about the physical environment and heat stress, cold stress, air quality stressors, and how those all contribute to workplace performance. We'll talk about the need for rest, scheduling, and how you design, shifts to be able to accommodate, people with needs for rest. right? And things like, well, what does coffee do? If I have coffee every day or don't have coffee, how does that affect my work schedules? And then finally, it's one of the last topics. We'll talk about social factors and teams. And so we'll talk about teams of, systems of humans where there are specialized roles or there are interchangeable roles of the humans, and how you structure those sorts of groups of people and how you would evaluate them differently and set them up differently. We did it. Okay, so now I'm going to record this tonight. When we're done, I've got topic 1, and there are going to be 3 lectures that go with that, 3 lecture videos. Typically what I'll do is I'll record and stop and post them in the same like the same breakdown as I have the lecture slides. So you can see these 3, and look out for those to be posted probably tomorrow morning, and watch them throughout the week at your convenience. There is going to be a homework assignment that goes with this, and I'll introduce that in those lectures as well. With that, I think I'm done for the night. I'll hang around here if there are any other questions, or if anybody wants to, really any questions about anything, I'll hang around for a bit. So, but I want to welcome you all. Thanks for, at least considering this class for the first day. And I wish you all an excellent semester, and I'm looking forward to it. So any questions?
Yeah, actually, I do have a question on the project, Dr. Ferris. Is there a particular format that you would like to follow on the documentation?
Yes, it'll be the Human Factors and Ergonomics Society proceedings format. And I do that because then all the instructions are online, and I can just point people to that site.
And do you require a proposal prior to approving the project?
Yes.
Or the project topic? Mm-hmm.
Yep, and that's mostly so that I can kind of point you in a fruitful direction. So you can, I can say, oh, here, look at this topic, or look, here's a good website or whatever. But yes, and that'll be about week 4. That's kind of what I put in the schedule. So I'll introduce that, and we'll have examples too.
And so the format for the proposal would be also following that standard that you described before?
No, it'll be like half a page, just write what you want to do and I'll comment on it for the proposal.
Oh, okay. Thanks.
Yeah, not a detailed, it's supposed to be more like, hey, this is a cool idea, and you can give me like 2 or 3 ideas so that I can say, here's the one I think would fit the best. So, but just short write-up.
Okay.
Thanks for the questions. Yeah.
You're welcome. Would it be acceptable to use something that I'm working on already at work?
Yeah, that's
and
actually
use the methodologies that we're learning in the course.
That's exactly right. That's what I would encourage. That's generally the
okay.
The
very good. Thank you.
The idea of it. Yep. Yep. You're welcome. Okay. Well, if no other questions, I will say good evening, and by all means, send those additional questions via email. You will have them, and so I will look for those. And again, I'll wish you all a nice evening. So thanks everybody. Thanks, Monica.
Thank you, you too. Have a good night.
All right, take care.
Thank you.
All right, bye everyone.
Have a good night. Bye.
Thanks.